All right, here's our book about Thomas Edison, and it's written by Elizabeth McLeod and illustrated by Andrei Christoffersky.
That's the same name as yesterday.
Same as the other book, Benjamin Franklin. Yep, they wrote the same books. Even looks similar, just a different name. All right, here we go. Thomas Edison. Click. With the flip of a switch, you flick on a lamp. It shines brightly thanks to the light bulb inside it. Your world would be much darker without light bulbs. Thomas Edison created this great invention. He invented many other things too. Thomas Alva Edison was born in 1847 in Ohio, in the United States. His family called him Al. Al asked lots of questions when he was a little boy. He wanted to find out how things worked. When Al was 2 years old, he saw a mother goose sitting on eggs in her nest. He knew this made the eggs hatch. Al wondered if eggs would hatch if he sat on them. His parents pulled him off before he could find out. Al watched candles and oil lamps glow. He was curious about fire, and when he was 6, don't do this at home, he decided to learn more about it. He lit a fire in his family barn. Oh, this was a dangerous thing to do, and soon the whole barn was on fire. Al got out just in time. Don't do that. Next, Al was curious about how birds fly, and he saw them eat worms. Did that help birds fly?
Ew.
So don't do this either. Al mushed up worms with water, and then he asked a friend to try and drink it. That was not a good idea. She got sick. When Al was about 12, he got a job working on railroad trains. He sold fruit, candy, postcards, and newspapers. Al had a lot of free time while he was on the train, so he set up a lab in the train car that held all the baggage. One day, Al was doing an experiment when the train rocked, and Al's lab equipment went flying and started a fire. No one was hurt, but Al could no longer have the lab on the train. Next, Al decided to write a newspaper to sell on the train, so people liked Al's paper, and he sold many copies. And by the time Al turned 15, he had chosen a new name. Now he wanted to be called Tom. Later that year, Tom was waiting at a train station, and a little boy named Jimmy was playing on the tracks. Ooh, so don't do that either. Suddenly, Tom saw a train car rolling toward Jimmy. Tom raced over and pushed him out of the way. Thanks to Tom, Jimmy was safe.
Tom led a very exciting life.
I know, right? He's busy all the time. Jimmy's father had no money to give Tom to thank him. Instead, he taught Tom how to use a telegraph machine. That's what that is down there. At the time, the telegraph was the fastest way to send messages over long distances. The machine used a special code called Morse code. And if you want to know more about that, we still use it to this day with some things, so you can find out what that all means. It's a cool thing. Tom learned the code and became very fast. Very fast at sending telegraph messages. For the next 6 years, he traveled around Canada and the United States, and Tom worked in many telegraph offices. In 1869, Tom arrived in New York City. New York City, New York. He began working for a company that made telegraph equipment. Tom came up with an idea for making telegraphic equipment work better. His idea was so good that the company paid him lots of money. Tom opened a workshop, and there he could invent and build his machines. Whenever he could, Tom spent time in his workshop. Even on the day he got married, he was working in his workshop, and he worked on his inventions. Looks like that might be the copy machine. At least that's what his picture looks like. It's possible. Tom hired lots of people to help him in his workshop, and he expected everyone to work hard. But Tom, he liked to have fun too. He often played jokes on people who worked for him. Tom was not like most bosses. He did not always dress neatly. Sometimes he took quick naps in the workshop. And if Tom was working hard, he didn't stop for dinner until midnight sometimes. In 1876, Tom moved his workshop to Menlo Park, New Jersey. Hopefully I said that right. The next year, he invented a special pen. When people wrote with this pen, it pricked tiny holes in the paper, and then he could press ink through the holes to quickly make copies. So that was the invention of the the copy pen. That same year, Tom invented the first machine that could record sounds and play them back. Tom called his invention a phonograph. The machine could play music, kind of like a CD player, but it used tubes instead of discs. Tom was inventing more than 130 years ago. Back then, people used candles, oil lamps, or gas lamps to light their house. These lights could be smoky and could also start fires. So Tom wanted to make a light that used clean, safe electricity. To create light from electricity, Tom needed to make a light bulb. And who remembers who learned more about electricity that we talked about last time? If you said Benjamin Franklin, you're good. He put 2 wires right in here in the light bulb to carry electricity inside the bulb, and between the wires was a thin thread. So there's the wires, and then this is the thin thread. When electricity flowed along the wires and thread, the thread heated up, and that made it glow. But the thread in the light bulb burned up way too fast, and the bulb quickly went dark. For more than a year, Tom worked on the light bulb. He tried making the thread from many things, such as hair and wood, and nothing worked, but Tom did not give up. In the fall of 1879, he tried making the thread out of cotton that had been baked in an oven. This light bulb stayed lit for more than 13 hours. Tom's light bulb was a success. That would be changing a lot of light bulbs every 13 hours. But it worked, and that was much better than candles. Tom wanted to show people his new light bulb, and he planned a special party for New Year's Eve. First, Tom set up all of his light bulbs in his workshop, and then he put lights in other houses in the town, and some of the lights were strung up on poles outside. On New Year's Eve, hundreds of people waited in the streets of Menlo Park, and when Tom flipped a switch, all the light bulbs lit up, and the crowd was amazed. In 1887, Tom moved into a new lab in West Orange, New Jersey. This lab was 10 times bigger than his last workshop, and there Tom invented the movie camera. The movies it filmed were very short, and some were just 16 seconds long, but people learned how to make longer movies. And in 1909, he invented a very strong battery that could power electric cars. And between 1914 and 1918, so that was 2 years, many countries were fighting. 4 years, thank you. 4 to 8. I can do my math. Fighting in a war, and Tom invented ways to find enemy planes and submarines. Tom became very rich, but he loved working and never stopped. During his life, Tom created more than 1,000 inventions. No one has invented more. When he died, he was 84 years old. On the day of his funeral, people across the United States turned off their lights for 1 minute. And when people turned their lights back on, they remembered Tom. He was the inventor who lit up the world. And I have a picture in this book. This is probably what, if you were in space, could see on the day that he died. All the United States would turn off all the lights for 1 minute. All right, enjoy the light that you have during your nighttime, and we'll do a little bit more with Thomas Edison tomorrow. Thanks.